Hi Slider, hi Casio, and hi Ada. Thanks for joining us. What you can see here is already Unreal Engine 5 running my old Unreal Engine 4 project. As you can see, everything works perfectly. No issues whatsoever. So to convert an Unreal Engine 4 project to Unreal Engine 5, it is an operation that takes about 1 minute. You just select an old project and open it in Unreal Engine 5. Everything gets converted. Lighting, fog, materials, everything works. And even some things are upgraded, like the reflections. So this is already the thing I like the most about Unreal Engine 5, that it just opens the old content and upgrades it for you. Okay, so we'll go back to it later. But first, let's open the famous demo, which I have here. Any bugs occurred? Not yet, and there wasn't any crash so far, though I haven't used it for too long. Okay, so this is the entry board when we open the famous project, Valley of the Ancients. And it already says that you can run it on GTX 1080 with 32 gigs of RAM, but they recommend 12-core CPU at 4.4 GHz and so on. And actually, what I have here is 8-core Ryzen, 2 generations before, and 2080 RTX. So let me open this ancient world. The first great improvement is how sleek this new UI is, how things are finally hidden, minimized, basically leaving much more space for work. Much cleaner UI. Okay, it will take a while. So in the meantime, let me show you how this thing maintains compatibility. Basically, this looks exactly like I had in Unreal Engine 4, but there is the new lighting system. So how is it possible? So most of the new features are hidden or disabled by default when you open an old project. And here we have our familiar details. And let me find post-process volume. And in this post-process volume, we can have global illumination. Yeah, GI. But I have to scroll to it probably. Collapse everything. Yeah, so there's the method. And it already says that ray traced global illumination, this one based on RTX, is deprecated. So yeah, the funny thing is that the Lumen they wrote, the new GI real-time global illumination system, from what I understood, it's not based on RTX. It's therefore much more compatible with the available hardware. So yeah, when I set it to Lumen, everything's black. But there's also reflections to set, which can also now be based on Lumen. Like so. And as you can see, it replaces the old screen space reflections. Now it also reflects things like so in a much more stable manner. So maybe it's just, I don't know how exactly does this work. I have to read into it. But in general, there are much fewer dark spots or missing reflections somewhere. It's just very coherent. Still screen space based, as you can see. If this goes out of the view, it also goes out of the reflection. But still, it works really nicely with rougher surfaces. They don't have to be totally glossy. Okay. So yeah, change the reflections to Lumen and change the global illumination to Lumen and you're good to go. Okay, so now let's fly inside. As you saw, it took a while for it to refresh this GI. And if we move quickly, I don't know if you can see it, but it basically, the eye adaptation is much stronger now. If you look directly into a very bright spot, it gets like darkened and almost immediately highlighted when we go into shadow. So something has changed about the eye adaptation. Okay, but what about the GI? Lumen should bring us global illumination everywhere dynamically without any baking. So this one huge advantage is that we don't need UVs to bake light maps into the second UV channel or third. So let me go to lighting only. And yeah. Let me change that thing to red. This is an actor. Select it. This is a blueprint, okay. Because I control the color. Okay, great. So let me play the game. Game project. Open this. Okay, perfect. And let me change it to blue. And yeah, everything's updated. Basically everything. There are no leftover green places as we would have with baked lighting. And to further prove the point, let me open. Yeah, now the creation of things went to create. Very nice. You don't have to waste a toolbar, sidebar. Let me place a spotlight. Okay. Direct it here. And change its color to red. Okay. And now make it strong. 1. As you can see, the light gets bounced off this surface towards this surface. An actual real-time global illumination. Okay, let me move to the shadow. And you can see what happens. The light not only shines on the top, but also bounces off immediately. Now, how is it related to reflections? Reflections are now handled by Lumen, so I guess they should be very coherent. So let me go to content browser, control space this time. Pops up content browser, meshes, and let me use this mesh maybe, or that. Okay. We are in lighting only, so I'm not interested by that, but as you can see, soft shadows automatically, basically, from bounced light. So this is amazing. Soft shadows are no longer just a property of the shadow in the light, but they also come from the bounced light. This is mind-blowing. Okay, so no lighting only, let's go to lit. And yeah, we have our bounced light from the top, visible as the reflection. If I change this light, it changes here as well. If I rotate this, okay, let me make it more visible. Yeah, when I move it and rotate it, everything's reflected instantly. So, you know, normally for that, Jeffrey says he found it to be much more noisy. Actually, I wonder if there are some quality settings. Let's check in a moment. Definitely, those of you who worked with offline renderers like V-Ray, Cycles, Indigo, you probably know that small, intense sources of light, be it bounced or direct, lead to much more noise. So I guess that would be very similar here. Let's say here we have very soft light, but if I put it closer, and by the way, guys, this is not a tutorial, this is just me experimenting, because for me this thing is as fresh as for you. 100. So we are already losing some precision, but maybe it's also due to fog. Let me disable fog for a while. Okay. Yeah, so weird things happen, very weird things, when the source is very bright and very small. Okay. But once it gets broader, things become more stable. More stable. But I wonder if there are some quality settings like global noise, because I don't know if you can see it on stream, but moving closer to the object adds noise that gets smoothened out in a temporal manner, so over time. If I disable anti-aliasing, nothing changes, so this has to be accumulated in some other way. Maybe there is a view mode for that. Buffer visualization. In lighting only, there's only the diffuse. It's pretty stable, though I'd like to point out one thing, that this isn't happening every frame. This has a significant delay of a couple hundreds of frames. I can show you by moving this light. Yeah, it takes a while to refresh. But if I move it completely... Oh, sorry. Where is it? Okay, now it's pretty fast, but I've definitely seen worse. I will show it to you later on this Ancient Valley demo. But let me find if we can see this noise. Okay, these are fake reflections, so we're not interested in that. Oh, but we can already see the resolution, the pixel, because the spot on the top that we have is, of course, round. Maybe I will disable bloom for a while. Post-process volume, bloom. For now, intensity 0. Okay, just so we see things clearly. Okay, so our light projecting on the ceiling is very bright and round, but what gets reflected was a square. Let me show you. Go to reflections. I mean, it's amazing, of course, that these reflections are real time. Oh, and here you can also see the couple of, like the 2 seconds of delay when it refreshes, right? It's also very dependent on the viewing angle, probably mixing some kind of screen space and more global reflections. But anyway, this spot, this rectangle, is basically this round shape of the light on the ceiling. So this is low resolution, but it's impressive. It really is. Just move this. We can also change the color, like so. And yeah, you can see the delay here clearly. I change it, and it refreshes in some tiles. So not everything at once, but you can see first the left side gets updated, then the right side. So of course there are limitations, but this is also very clever in how it approaches refreshing stuff. Okay. And in diffuse light like this, it should be much less noticeable than in clear reflections. You can see how it fades towards the edges, from the center towards the edges. Like so. Okay, but as I said, it's amazing that we have this soft shadow from the bounced light. And just dreams come true, basically, when it comes to lighting. Okay. So now let's check if we can change the amount of noise somehow. Cool disco. Yeah. Let me go to word settings. If there's still something like that, there is. Okay. You can still find the old good light mask here. Yeah, so basically everything from UE4 seems to be ported here, which is very good. What is the source of the noise in the shadow? Do you know what Unreal uses for that? And how do you like the new UI? So I love this new UI. This is basically, it's very familiar in the same time, but it's much more like hidden from sight. Things were hidden into toolbars. Now, when I create, I don't have to have these huge 3D icons of every type of object. It's just like normal software for working, which is I find it very good. But at the same time, everything that was okay is still there and is very familiar. Also, if we edit a blueprint, like this one, you can see the good old nodes, the same stuff. But for example, class settings were also streamlined like this. So this is the very same thing, just much clearer. So noise in the shadow. Do you mean this thing where I move? So there have to be some samples gathered over time, and then, I mean, this is how it is with RTX GI, and I guess this would be similar, that it has some samples very roughly spread out, and then interpolates the space between them, like filling the missing information. You can see it here, I think, because there is not enough precision, right? There is this object, but you can basically see the dots very smooth, but still the dots being removed, being refreshed. That, how to say it, that there is no smaller precision unit than, let's say, 30 centimeters. There is no sharper shadow than this. Here you can see it as well. There's something, but when I move out, it gets blurred. So I guess that these the samples, they are not distributed in word space, but rather in screen space, dividing the screen. Looks like RTX. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're right. It's more visible when I move further away, because I guess the screen is divided into some space, and then if I move away, I have, of course, I'm covering a bigger area, the whole object, for example, with the several samples. When I'm up close, it gets more detailed, because if the samples are dividing the screen rather than the word, then it should behave like that. The afterglow visible by moving reflective surfaces, was there in UE4? No, it's something new. I will show you why. Everything here is without reflection probes. There is a probe, I think, but this is the old thing. Yeah, I just delete that, and nothing has changed. That's because these new reflections are real time. So when this color changes, this lamp, wait a second, then the reflections should change as well. Yeah, you can see it here, that the yellow reflection changes. The old reflection probes were static by default. I think I can show it by opening the scene in the old Unreal, if it allows me to. Library, and yeah, this thing. So this whole afterglow, this delay in refreshing is due to the fact that, rebaking the reflections is expensive, and you don't want to do it every frame. So they they spread out these calculations into many, many frames, and basically refresh the parts of the world with a smooth transition. So it looks like whenever a new reflection part is ready, it gets blended in. Okay, so here we have old Unreal Engine 4. And let me make this bigger. Not this. Okay. And I open the map. This map. Hi, Roy. Nice to see you again. Okay, this is the same map in Unreal Engine 4. And as you can see, things look much darker because there is no global illumination compared to Unreal Engine 5, which looks like this, the same place. Okay, there's this bounced light everywhere, while in Unreal Engine 4 there is none. The difference is that I would have to bake this in Unreal Engine 4, while 5 is real time. It's real time. So if I change something here, let's say the color of the light, okay? Color of the light. It can be changed? Because it's blueprint. Anyway, let me just put a point light. Lights. As you can see, the UI was much more cluttered. This is placing the objects in Unreal Engine 4. This is 5. Like so. So let me place a point light. As you can see, there is very fake analytic reflection and nothing else. No bounced light. If it was a spotlight, things would be even worse. I'm pointing to the ground. Nothing else changes. Okay. Now in Unreal Engine 5, I create a spotlight like so, and immediately it bounces on the ceiling like this. Okay, so the thing is that in Unreal 4 I could have achieved that. By baking, but baking the light basically requires it to be static. So I have to select this thing, change mobility to static in Unreal Engine 4. And then unfortunately, what I had to do is to first have the second UV set for every object to bake lighting. That will be later baked to light map. And I had to do build lighting quality preview and build lighting only. And this is a process that took a long time, even on a powerful machine. Let's just wait for it. Lumen GI is not hardware ray tracing, right? Actually, what you mean by hardware? Because it's not RTX based from what I know, but still it's calculated in shaders, in compute shaders. So it's not using the specialized hardware instructions, but it's using the programmability of modern GPUs. Basically, they wrote the whole stuff themselves. That's at least what I understood from the old Digital Foundry video. And now we should have more info on upcoming conference, SIGGRAPH 2021 in August. Is it RTX that reflects light from one surface to another? It could be, like in Control, the game, or in Cyberpunk in RTX mode, but not here. Here is the proprietary Lumen solution. So it's not backed by specialized hardware. It uses standard compute shaders, probably. Koala Wolf, you say that Ue5 has a bugged create new object menu when searching. Okay, so I can search here. Can I type, let's say, spot, right? Whoa. Okay, it's bugged. It just disappears. You're right. They will figure it out. Okay, so after a longer while, we still have very weak lighting here. So this is probably my mistake, that this strength of this lamp was too weak. Let me add, like, I don't know, 500, okay, or 1000. And now let's try to bake it, and let's see what happens. Build lighting count. In the meantime, let's look if we have these noise options here. Because as you can see, especially when I just move up close, there's a lot of noise in the beginning. A lot of noise. Word settings. Or maybe, let's do it the proper way. Let's open Ue5 Lumen Docs. Okay. This is awesome that they already have this that they already released all the documentation for Unreal Engine 5. Okay, getting started with Lumen. Sure.